Well, welcome back, my farmer friends. It is I, Corinna Bench. And for those of you who are new to our group, I want to say a special welcome to you. I am the owner of SharedLegacyFarms.com, a CSA vegetable farm out in Elmore, Ohio for the last 11 years. And I'm also the founder of MyDigitalFarmer.com, which is really dedicated to trying to help farmers like you get better at marketing, get confident about how to build a marketing plan for your farm that actually works, that's simple and that doesn't cause you tons and tons of anxiety. So today I am doing my weekly training on a topic that is near and dear to me, and it is probably one of the most frequently requested topics in my surveys to you guys, and it is all about copywriting, how to write words that sell. This is a very common pain point that you guys have shared with me. You guys feel like you're really good at growing. You're passionate about growing vegetables. That's what you want to spend your time doing. You're trained in that. You know how to do it well. But when it comes to selling your product, you've never really had any formal training in marketing or in how to sell your product. I mean, you know kind of the basics, but you don't know if there is a formula or a process or a strategy or a framework. No one's ever told you that. And so you kind of feel a little unsure about how to go about doing all of this. And you're competing with businesses that have staffs of people that are trained in this sort of thing, who know how to do it well. And so that's why I felt like, it's time for me to really start spending some time here on these weekly trainings, just teaching you some copywriting secrets. So if you're like most farm businesses, like I was when I first started 11 years ago, you have an idea for a product, like we wanted to start a CSA, all right? And so we figured out what we wanted to do. We planned out our business model carefully. We even set up a website. You may even say, I'm going to make a Facebook page or an Instagram account for my farm or my new business. And you set up your store on Square or whatever. And then you just sit and you wait for the money to come rolling in and the sales to come rolling in. But guess what happens? In our case, nothing happened. Nobody found out about it. Nobody knew what was going on. We couldn't just passively sit there and expect people to find out about us. Or here's another example. It's the week that you're opening your CSA sales. I remember this was the case for us in the early years. And so we created a Facebook post that we wanted to put out there. And I sat down and I'm like, what the heck do I say to try and pitch my CSA to people so that I don't sound super salesy, right? Have you ever felt that way? Or here's another example. Maybe you hear me telling you a lot in these trainings that, hey, you should be writing your email list every single week. And so you sit down every week in front of your computer and you might actually try this. And you're like, okay, Corinna says I need to write an email. And you open up your broadcast and you start typing and you just stare at a screen and you're like, I don't know what to say. I don't know what to say. What do I talk about? So you struggle with just figuring out how to move your prospect forward, right? Or maybe if you're like most farmers, and I actually do recommend this when you're beginning to start a CSA at the very beginning, you're doing meetups and you're doing talks, and somebody might say, hey, would you come and talk to the Rotary Club about your CSA? And like you're taking any opportunity you have, right, to go and talk about your product. So then you have to sit down and actually create the slideshow and put together the talk and the talking points. And again, you sit there and you're like, I have no idea what to talk about. I guess I'll show some pictures of my farm and a picture of the box and what you get, but how do I put the concept and the words together so that someone is pulled into my story and feels inclined to buy? Okay, so these are all scenarios that I have lived out in my journey as a farm manager and marketer, and I use that in air quotes very lightly. At the beginning, I would not call myself for the first 8 years any kind of marketer. I was just doing stuff that I saw other people doing, but I had no idea if it was working, right? So one day I said, enough. I need to figure out how this is done. I need to actually start studying marketing. And so I did. I started studying the art of writing copy, of writing words. And I got kind of pulled into the internet marketing scene and just took a lot of free information from webinars and reading blogs and watching videos like I'm making for you right now. And eventually I decided that I was going to spend money and buy an online course so that I could learn how to do copywriting. Hey, Jenny, I see that you're here. Angie, glad you're here. hope you find today valuable. So I spent, now wait for this, I spent $999 on a copywriting course. And I know you're probably like dropping your jaw right now, but I did that very intentionally, and I felt like I needed to really put some money behind this because I thought this is something that's going to have big dividends if I get this right, and I need to learn from the masters. And let me tell you that this was the single most important investment that I have ever made in my business. I have no regrets. I know that sounds like a lot of money. I know some of you have spent several more $1,000s on Jim Fortier's class, right, to learn how to actually grow things and be in his masterclass. Well, this is no different. I wanted to learn how to sell it, and I was willing to spend money to learn how to do that. And so as a result of that class, I just learned so many great tips, and many of them were like low-hanging fruit, things that I could implement right away, that I could immediately see a difference, and a lot of just simple fixes that were easy to implement. So I wanted to kind of share some of those things that I've learned over time with you. They were groundbreaking for me, and that's what I'm going to be doing over the next few episodes, is just kind of walking you through some of the big brushstrokes of copywriting and the things that I think are really important. Now, I'm not saying that you should go and buy a $1,000 course, because if that is not your thing, don't waste your money on that, okay? And I will do my best to try and equip you. But if you do want to get better at selling, you are going to have to invest in it, either with your time by listening to videos like this that are free, or finding someone on your team, if you have the resources for that, finding someone on your team that's willing to make that their thing, that they're going to be good at, and really diving deep. Because once you go in and you make the commitment and you start learning it, it just blows open so many possibilities. And I feel like I'm not wasting time anymore standing in front of a computer wondering what to write. I kind of know now where to begin, and I just feel more confident moving forward. So here's the deal. If I want you to remember one phrase, it's this one: words sell. That's it. Words sell. So how you put words together, whether you're doing a keynote or a talk in front of people, whether you put words together in an ad for Facebook, whether you put words together on your website, on your flyer that you pass out to people, how you put words together absolutely matters, okay? How clear is your message to the people that you want to buy? Customers often do not buy the best product, they buy the one that's the most clear. I know that's really hard for you to accept, but it is true. And so that is why getting really good at putting words together makes such a difference. So studying copywriting is kind of step one to getting better at this. So how do you define copywriting or writing copy? Copywriting is the art of putting words together so that people will do what it is you want them to do, so that you persuade them. It's kind of an art of persuasion using the power of words, okay? And copywriting is like any other kind of writing. It has rules. It has best practices, okay? So when you sit down, and my little son Josiah, he's in second grade, and he's learned how to write a letter. If he's going to write a friendly letter to someone, what is the format? You have your greeting at the top, dear grandma, right? And then you have like 2 or 3 sentences in the middle called the body. And then at the bottom you write sincerely, comma, and then you sign your name. And where do you put the date? Well, the date goes in a very specific spot on the letter, right? There are rules of writing a letter, and it's the same for copywriting. There are rules of engagement, certain frameworks and formulas that you follow. And people who study marketing, who go to school for this, who read books about marketing, have studied the greats, who have learned under the masters. There is a formula. There is a formula and a framework that is steeped in psychology, okay? This isn't just like, oh, let's come up with a summary framework. This stuff is based on like brain research, where they have seen what happens when we do this, what's human behavior. So knowing what this human behavior is and then putting it into a framework, super, super helpful, all right? Now, it does take a while to learn this. Not a super long while, but it does take a little bit of time. Most importantly, it takes practice. So if you want to get better at copywriting, I really can't help you unless you're willing to dive in and try it, and unless you're willing to make some mistakes. So my first attempts at writing copy using this formula I'm about to teach you were probably not super awesome. They were probably a little fuddy-duddy at the beginning, a little awkward, but the more you practice, the better you get at it, right? So you have to be willing to jump in and try this stuff, and it's gonna feel strange, like putting on a weird pair of clothes for a while, but after a while, you'll find your voice. All right. Now, there isn't just one thing. I wish I could just break copywriting down into like, one 10-minute talk. I'm sorry, it's not going to be possible. Like, I had to watch many, many hours of coursework, right, to learn this. And I still feel like I don't know it all. That was just like 101 copywriting. But today I'm going to walk you through one of the formulas that was introduced to me. And it's one that I've since heard quite a bit now that I'm kind of studying this in other places. It comes up in other places too. So this is a very common framework that I'm going to share with you. And what I want you to do is get out a piece of paper and you are going to write this acronym down. P.A.S.T.O.R. 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 I had to write this backwards, by the way, because I'm using my camera right now. So I just want you to appreciate the fact that it is not easy to write backwards on a piece of paper. By the way, today's voting day. I did not write this backwards. Don't forget to vote, okay? All right, so here's what I want you to do. This image of a pastor, all right, this is kind of a good image. It's a good acronym anyway, but it's also a nice image because as a copywriter, you're kind of acting like a pastor. What does a pastor do? They guide the sheep, right? They're leading them to fresh water and to good grass. They're doing what's best for the sheep, hopefully, okay? Now, a shepherd could also use his power as a shepherd to do bad things for the sheep, right? The sheep just trust the shepherd and do whatever the shepherd wants. So if the shepherd really wants to take them off a cliff, I suppose he could do that. It's the same with copywriting. You are a shepherd. You can guide your prospects into something that you know is good for them and that will help them if your product will indeed transform them and make their life better. But you can also use these tricks and these frameworks and these formulas to manipulate people. And that is the danger. And I know that's a really kind of sharp line or sharp edge that we walk. Some of you have even shared that with me, that you're kind of reluctant to get salesy because you feel like you could be manipulating someone. I get that, right? So when we're talking about persuasion and learning how to use words to persuade, you need to know that this stuff can be used in a bad way. So as long as you feel good about your product, if you know that your product changes lives, that it helps your customer, then that's kind of how I kind of walk this line. It's like, listen, I need to just make sure that whenever I sit down in front of a video and do a training, that I'm always thinking about this is going to add value to the person that's going to buy or that's going to consume this product, okay? All right, now once you learn this acronym, I'm about to get to it. I know you're like, start, Corinna, start. Once you learn this acronym, you're going to see it everywhere. In fact, I have ruined watching commercials with my children now because whenever we're sitting watching TV and a commercial comes on, like I just see the acronym there. I'm like, oh, there's the pain point. Oh, there's the solution. Oh, there's the objection, right? And so it's just funny. Like once you know this formula, you're going to see it on commercials, infomercials. You'll see it on website, Facebook ads. It's funny. So it's really helpful to just kind of see the framework, and let's dive in. Now, the order matters when you're putting this in your framework, when you're actually writing the words down, or the order in which you put things on your website sales page, the order in which you put things into your email sales sequence. It does kind of matter because each step of this prospect is leading your customer into the journey of persuasion, and so you can't just dive in and talk about the offer right away. That doesn't. First, you have to warm them up, right? So it's sort of like if I'm making pancakes. In fact, my two boys, they're like 10 and 7, and the other day I wasn't feeling very good, and so they were making me pancakes. And so if I had just said, you need to go make pancakes, they would have been overwhelmed. They wouldn't have known where to start. They probably would have done the wrong thing first. So they kept coming back into my bedroom and they're like, what's the first thing that you do, Mom? And I'm like, turn on the griddle. Okay. Then you need to get 3 eggs, right? Beat them up, add some buttermilk, 1.5 cups. Don't mix that with the dry stuff yet. Like there's an order, right, in which you build a recipe, and that order matters. And it's the same with copywriting, that you need to make sure that you put things in the right order so that the recipe turns out right in the end, so it tastes right. Okay, so what did I just do with that piece of paper? Here it is. Okay, so hopefully you have a chance, whoops, upside down. You have a chance to write this down, and I'm gonna walk you through what each letter stands for. Okay, here we go. So the letter P, the first element in copywriting, stands for person. Ooh, now I get to use this one. Person, problem, and pain. Person, problem, and pain. So we have talked about this in other trainings that I've done, you first of all need to identify your target audience. Who are you talking to? So great copywriting is super clear about who their ideal customer avatar is. They're not trying to speak to everyone, because if you speak to everyone, you speak to no one. You need to pick one person, and you need to know what their problem and their pain is, okay? And you want to talk about that problem and pain at the front end, okay? That's kind of the beginning. You want to get in there and identify, this is what, are you feeling, frustrated about where your food's coming from? Do you hate eating carrots that taste like nothing? Okay, so identify what is the pain. If you know what that problem is, the major problem and pain for your customer, why they're coming to you, figure that out, and that is what you talk about first. So you want to try and describe this pain as accurately as possible. So you want to come up with stories or little vignettes that you've heard your customers talk about, and you can share those as part of your copywriting. Describing the emotions, like really getting in there and being like, this is not just the external problem, right? But the internal pain that this is causing you. Why does this matter? And the more you can do that, the better. So that's kind of step one, is identifying, number one, the person and the problem or pain. And if you watch commercials from now on, you're going to see that that's usually the first question that comes out. In the first 10 seconds, they're trying to get you to identify with this commercial so that you're like, yeah, I do have that pain, or yeah, I do have that one. That is a problem that I have. And now I'm going to tune in and watch. Okay, so it catches your attention. Okay, step two in the P.A.S.T.O.R acronym is A. A is for agitate. Agitate. So we've talked about the problem and the pain. And now, if copywriting is doing its job well, it's going to agitate the pain. It's going to stick the finger in the wound and go like this, so that the person is like, oh, I'm feeling the burn. So this is where you really like lemon juice on a paper cut. Like, just try to imagine if someone identifies a problem you have and then they start telling stories, or they go deep, they use words and phrases that just connect, and you're like, yeah, I have felt that. Oh, I hate when that happens. Yeah, this is really bugging me. And that's effective copywriting. You want to get them to a place where they're so aware of the pain and the problem that now they're willing to listen to you talk about how you might help fix it. Okay? So amplifying the consequences that would happen if they don't take action, if they don't do something to solve this problem. So you want to be talking about, with your words, what's at stake. If you don't fix this problem, what's going to keep happening? It's going to be more of the same, or are you going to have physical consequences down the road? Or are you going to have peace of mind issues? You don't know where your food comes from? Are your kids going to be getting sick? Are your kids going to be unhealthy because they're eating bad foods? They're going to be learning bad habits of how to eat? You know, what's at stake? So really amplifying and talking about that. So this is also a place where you can speak to their aspirations. I should have put A for aspirations on here too, but this is not only are you talking about the negative consequences, but you're talking about the positive consequences too. Like, here's what could happen if you do take action, if you decide today, I'm going to fix this problem once and for all right? So they have to believe, you have to get them to a point in this copywriting formula here where they believe that they need this thing that you're about to tell them about, that they want it so much because you have now painted a picture where they're like, oh, you're right. You've reminded me what is at stake, right? You've painted a picture of paradise, what things would look like if they fixed this problem, if this problem or pain went away. And you've helped them see what's at stake, what will they lose if they ignore your advice. So they have to understand, I love this phrase, they have to understand the price of indecisiveness. Okay, what happens if they do nothing, right? Okay, that's the A. And then the S stands for solution. Okay, so this is the point in your marketing assets, whether you're building a website sales page or an email sales sequence. In this next step, you're starting to create emails, or you're starting to create a section in your website where you talk about the solution. Okay, so you've already agitated, you've talked about there's a problem, now they're identifying with your message, yeah, that's me. Tell me more. And then you say, okay, I have a solution for you. Now there's a couple of different ways that you can do this. So often what I try to do is at some point in this process here is where I share a story about how I have struggled with that very same problem. Hey, that used to be me. I know what you're going through. And this is a chance where you can show empathy. Now, if you follow the story brand framework, which is another kind of framework for copywriting, there's a section in there that talks about being the guide, that you as the brand are the guide. And one of your jobs as the guide is to create a sense of authority and empathy. So you understand where they're coming from and you know the path to get them out of this situation. Okay, so this is kind of that part of the step here. So if you can tell a story in your email or somehow on your sales page or maybe in a video or in a Facebook post, tell a story about how you used to be there. Show that you empathize, that you understand where they're coming from. And then you share the solution that helped you, that worked for you, and that has worked for many other people, that's helped them get to that desired after state that they're looking for, okay? So this step is helping the prospect see that there is a process, there is a system, there is a way out. And if they're willing to take action, they can get the same results that you have gotten. The solution can be repeated, okay? All right, the T in P.A.S.T.O.R has kind of two different ones. Oh, I didn't do those letters right. Whoops. Transformation and testimonials. This is hard to write backwards. I had to do this one 3 times, just so you know, it's a long word. Transformation and testimonials is what this T stands for. Now, this is the point in copywriting. We've shown them the pain. They felt the problem. They're feeling it. They're feeling the burn. We've talked about how we were there once. Now we have a solution. And this is where we share with them the transformation that happens for people who use this solution. Okay, so how is life different as a result of going through this program, of taking this training, of buying your product, of using your product for long periods of time, of joining your foodie community, whatever it might be? Here's the truth. People are not buying your product. What they are buying, what they are paying for is the transformation. That was a really big aha moment for me when I wrapped my head around that. So you need to know, what is it that people want? That's why you have to know your customer avatar like the back of your hand. Who is this person you want to work with most? And why are the majority of those people coming to you? What do they want? Not just the thing, but the internal desire. And when you know what that is and you can put that into words, and you can write out and talk out that transformation for them and show a picture of it, that's what they'll buy. They want the transformation, and your product is just a means to get there, okay? So you need to dial in to what that transformation looks like using your words in real life, okay? So this is where the survey results, when you do surveys or if you do interviews with your customers, comes in really, really handy. So, I just printed out like 1-2 pages of my survey results from 2017, but I make it a point to, I think this is a 17-page document because I had so many survey results come in, but I make a point to reread my survey results on a regular basis. I would say it's like every 6 weeks. I take a look at them and just read them because it's a really good refresher. Sometimes you can get, as a copywriter and as a marketer, you can kind of start to think that you know what the problem is for your customer, and you forget that you've got their words right in front of you. So and sometimes what you think it is gets skewed. So it's really good. In fact, I did that today as I was preparing this message. I was like, I need to reread this. And as I was going through it, I'm like, wow, I've kind of forgotten that these 3 phrases are like the thing for my people. And maybe I need to go back and tweak my website a little bit, okay? So survey results can be really helpful because when you ask the right questions of your ideal customer, you get copy. You get copywriting right here that you can lift right out of the survey. You'll see so many people say the same kinds of things, the same kinds of concepts. You will hear stories that they share with you. They'll tell little anecdotal vignettes of their life. It's like opening a Christmas box every week for a CSA, for instance, okay? That's a beautiful image. Let's use that phrase to help people understand what it feels like to get a box. Okay, so just having a survey and just having it there, knowing it like the back of your hand, is a great way to go and get a sense of what is this transformation that people want? What is it that they're looking for? So I have a really good training video, if you haven't watched it already, on how to build a really great survey, end of year survey, to help you actually get copywriting material like this. So I want to encourage you. That's probably one of my favorite ones, and I would say it's probably one of the top 3 videos of this community so far. So really go look for that. I'll try to remember to link that up here in the comments of this video too. Okay, the other part of the T word here, so we've talked about transformation, is testimonials. So this is the section in the sales page or in your email sales sequence where you share the results that other customers have had using your product. Now, if you've watched my video, The 4 Reasons That People Buy, you will know that one of the 4 reasons is social proof, right? When we want to go and buy something, we go to, let's say we go to Amazon, we're looking something up. What do we do before we decide to buy it? We go and look how many stars it has, right? Like I click on the products that have at least 4 stars. If it's not more than 4 stars, then I don't even look at it. I look at the reviews. I always read a few of the reviews just to see if I'm looking for a recipe to cook. Like I look for the ones that have 4 to 5 stars, right? So reviews and testimonials matter, and they should matter for you too. Before somebody decides to buy your product, they're going to want to know, does this work? Are people happy? In the case of CSA, like, are they happy getting a box from this farm? Or there's some things they don't like? What are other people saying? So this is where in your sales sequence or in your copywriting, you have a section that talks about the transformation that people experience, not just your transformation as the guide, but hey, this works for other people. Let me share the story of Martha Damschroeder, who has been in our CSA for 2 years. And then you have an actual testimonial with their picture or whatever. Now I have several videos all about testimonials. I think I did like a 4-week series on all about testimonials. It's really good. So if you want to dive deep and understand how testimonials work in this section of the copywriting journey, then I'm going to recommend you go look for that inside of our archives, video archives in the group, okay? Okay, that's enough on T. I spent too much time on that. We're on O, P.A.S.T.O.R. O. So here we go, offer outcomes, okay? This is where you finally pitch the offer. So this is the details of your package. And I would say too that when you're putting this section together, I feel like we spend, I don't want to say we, before I started doing this well, I would spend too much time on my website, on my marketing assets, getting into the details of the offer, when in reality, you should probably spend about 30% of your space for the offer is about the deliverables, the actual things that they get. But what's more important in your copywriting is the outcomes that come as a result of this actual physical product. So let me give you an example of this. Like if you look at what my offer is on the CSA sales page, I talk about you get a box of 5 to 7 vegetables every week. You get access to the online Facebook group. You get access to the academy. You can get a newsletter every week and recipes and training. So I have these kind of tangible things that you can sort of touch. But I don't just leave it at that. You want to kind of put a phrase after the actual thing they get and talk about why it matters. Okay, so here's an example. Access to our private Facebook community so that you can connect with other like-minded foodies for inspiration. Okay, so do you see how I've now changed using my words? I've talked about the offer, but I've talked about the outcome. This is what happens as part of getting this offer. This is why it's valuable. This is how it's going to change you. So make sure in this section that you are adding on that stuff as well. All right. Okay, the offer, and that's also where you put price and all that stuff, the stuff that they get. Okay, the last part of the P.A.S.T.O.R. acronym is, oh my gosh, I totally messed up the S there, is response. If you're just joining us right now, I had to write all these backwards because my camera is flipped, so this was not easy. So the last part of the P.A.S.T.O.R. acronym in copywriting is response. So important. This is where you ask them to do something. This is the call to action. Oh, my friends, I was so afraid to ask people to buy. I was like, I don't want to look salesy. And as a result, I would go to all this work trying to describe my product, and then I would like do this half-hearted, like, please buy it if you can, like, listen, if you don't look confident, if you don't think that this is going to change someone's life, then they're going to pick up on that and they're not going to buy, right? So if you come out and say, look, this is important, this matters, this is going to change your world. If you believe that in your heart of hearts, then you absolutely should go for the ask, and you should not be afraid to do that. People are coming to your site in the first place because they're identifying with a pain and a problem, and they've heard that you have a solution. So they are going to expect you to pitch them. Okay, this is not rocket science. So what do you want them to do? What do you want them to do? And this is super important that you identify one thing. So for every campaign that you're creating, it's really tempting to have like 2 or 3 things. Well, I kind of want them to get on my email list, but I do want them to buy the product. And actually, I want them to buy this lower value product first because it's probably too hard to get them to buy the $400 thing right away. And I kind of want them to watch this video, and I wonder if they will come to this live event that I'm doing. Like, what do you want them to do? Pick one thing, because if you have too many things, too many calls to action on your website page or on your email, they're going to be overwhelmed. So when I write emails, when I'm using this formula for emails, for instance, I actually write my call to action first. It's the very first thing I do. When I write my emails to you guys every week, for those of you who are on my email list, when I sit down and write that, the very first thing I say is, okay, I want them to download the video that I just did and watch it. And that's what I do. And then I link it up, I link the video up, and I write a few bullet points about what's valuable in the video. But that is the first thing I write. And then I figure out what's going to be at the top, what's going to be the introduction piece that gets them to actually, read all the way through the email and get to that call to action. So you need to know what you want them to do. Is it buy now? Is it click the buy now button? Is it watch this video? Is it download this freebie? Is it fill out the survey question? Is it share a comment below in the post? Is it share this video with someone else? Is it bookmark this URL address? You can find it later. Is it open tomorrow's email or you'll be sorry? There's going to be a freebie in there. Is it subscribe to get my top 10 freezer meals PDF? What is it that you want to do? And depending on where your customer is in the journey, you're going to have different calls to action. Okay, so as a copywriter, I am very aware when I am creating a marketing asset and I'm using this P.A.S.T.O.R acronym formula. Okay, I might be writing a sales sequence for someone who is, for instance, a lead for a CSA. Okay, they just kind of learned about it and they want to learn more. They're not really ready to buy yet. And so I'm not going to start out with on a Facebook ad, for instance, or a post in Facebook with, hey, join my CSA. I'm going to have some calls to action that cause them to get onto my email list so that I can then warm them up with another email sales sequence that I've created that moves them to the next step of the journey, okay? So remember, it's almost like we're creating a series of micro conversions. So as someone enters our funnel and first becomes aware of us, we have a strategy and a plan to move them forward using this framework, okay? And maybe our response, our call to action that we want them to do is to just watch this video so that they can come to know, like, and trust us, right? And that's all we ask them to do for a while. And then eventually it's like, okay, now I'm going to create another set of marketing assets for this audience that's now a little warmer. And now the response or the call to action for them is to download this freebie. And I identify a freebie that I know they'll want so that I can get their email address and I can follow up with them later, okay? And then now that I have those email address, I create another marketing asset that has a different call to action. And this one might actually be, hey, I want you to buy a product that's maybe a little bit lower priced. So they can kind of step lightly into this relationship with me, okay? And I build a series of emails or videos or whatever targeting them that's the call to action. And then finally, when I go for the big guns, I'm like, now I want you to buy my $400 price product item, okay? I have another set of processes using this framework that does that. Each step of the journey should have a response, a call to action section in the framework, but it can only be one. If you have too many things, it's confusing for people. So that is kind of my big secret that I want to share with you that I didn't do well at the beginning. You really have to be committed to figuring out what is it in this section of the journey as I'm warming them up that I want them to do. How can I get them to the next micro conversion, and now the next micro conversion, until they finally stepped their way all the way up to the ladder and they're beginning to be like a full-blown customer buying a lot of your products, okay? All right, so that's the framework, P.A.S.T.O.R. I hope you wrote them all down. Where do we use this formula? I have used it on my website. If you go to my website, you'll see it to some degree there. I don't feel like it's perfect, but you'll see some sections. I use it when I craft my email sales sequence to people who become a lead, who download a freebie and show me that they're interested in CSA. So I craft a series of emails that follow this general framework. So I might write 10 emails over the course of 3 weeks, and it sort of spits this stuff out in this order. You could do it if you ever want to create a webinar. I have a feeling some of you may have tried to sell your CSA through a webinar. This is how you frame your webinar, using this framework. If you take a webinar course, you will learn this framework. This is the order in which they do these things. So the next time you watch a webinar, a really well done one, by like a big time person who knows what they're doing, you'll probably see this formula. I'm telling you, I'm ruining commercials for you for the rest of your life. I also use it when I have like when I'm putting content on my social media sites. So sometimes I'll have a series, like, let me think of an example. When I was trying to do like a list building blitz campaign for 7 days, and that was a real concerted effort where I had a strategy. Every day I really focused on my business page and Facebook, like to try and get people to join my list for CSA. And so I had, I'm going to do this on day one, this on day two. And I think about this framework as I put those kinds of things together. And then even in my weekly emails that I send out to my CSA members, to people who just go to the farmer's market, to people who are just on my blog, to you guys, to my digital farmers, as I sit down and think about how am I going to write this, I look back at this formula and I'm like, which of those elements should I have in there? And I don't always put every single one in, but you'll find if you start tearing apart and analyzing how I write emails to you, you will see that some of these elements are at play in there. Okay, before we end, I'm just going to pick up a few books because I've had some questions from my friends who are like, hey, what are some great books that I can be getting if I want to start looking at copywriting and studying this myself? So the first one that I want to recommend, I think this is on my website, or maybe it's in the email series that I gave you. If you're on my email list, it's one of the first emails that you get. It's called This Book Will Teach You How to Write Better. That's a great title, isn't it? Tells you exactly what you're going to get. And it's by Neville Medhora. I love it. It says, this book is short, effective, and sort of offensive, but you will write better after reading it. I feel like the very way that he writes the title front cover page shows you effective copywriting. Look how short it is. I think it's under $5 at Amazon. So super easy to read. Like, you'll be done in 30 minutes if you skim it. Practical, really practical stuff. I love that one. That was one of the first ones I got. I think this is another good one, .com Secrets. Russell Brunson is sort of the mogul in, at least in internet marketing, digital marketing. And so I think that he's got some good stuff in here too about the process and the framework. And then of course, I recommend this book. This is my favorite book, Donald Miller, Building a Story Brand. He also shares a framework in here for copywriting, which is not the P.A.S.T.O.R framework, but it's very similar. You will see elements that are just using different words, different describing words, but it's essentially the same kind of process. Jordan wants to know the first 30-minute book. It was called This Book Will Teach You How to Write Better. Isn't that great? I feel like the value proposition is in the title. We can all learn from that. If you put that in your email headlines, people will open it, right? Clickbait, right? Okay, so hey, a couple of other things. There's a few other resources that you can start following. Copyhackers.com is Joanna Wiebe. She's actually the person that I bought my online course from. I think it was called 10x Emails. She's very good. She's considered one of the great copywriters in the space. RayEdwards.com is another fantastic copywriter teacher. He has a podcast as well. He has the Copywriting Academy. In fact, that may be a better fit. If you're looking at spending money on an online course for copywriting, I would check out Joanna Wiebe's class or Ray Edwards, because depending on their teaching style, you might like one or the other better. So I might actually have gone with Ray Edwards if I could go back and do it again. Joanna was amazing. I learned a ton. But now that I've discovered Ray Edwards, I really like his style as well. And I'm kind of intrigued to see how his course is different. And then there's the Copywriters Club, which is a podcast. I think there's also a website as well that has some great resources too. So those are some other places that you can go and just start studying, learning from the greats and the masters that are out there. So I have a freebie for you for this episode. Some of you may already have it, but if you would like to see the email sequence that I used back in 17, to get my CSA members to sign up early bird, I think my retention rate that year jumped from 66% to 78%. And I used this email sequence to get those results in 18 days. If you would like to see what those emails look like, you can get it by going to sharedlegacyfarms.com/email download, and it'll send you, it's a huge PDF document of all the emails just back to back, so you can see how I put words together. So I guess I'm giving that to you, not because I want you to copy it. Please don't do that, because that would be like stealing. But I'm sharing it with you because I want you to see an example of what copywriting looks like, and how the emails each had a different job. They were doing that mini conversion, right? The next step. Okay, now I want to get you into the next step of the framework. Now I'm going to share a testimonial. Now I'm going to overcome this objection. Now I'm going to share an outcome. Here's how your life's going to be different. And I try to go through a lot of these different sections. So if you kind of want to see what that looks like in action, you can go to sharedlegacyfarms.com/email download. All right, cool. That's it, guys. I'll catch you next week, where I don't exactly know what I'm going to teach you yet, but it's going to be something about copywriting. So look forward to that. Hope you have a great weekend. And if you are new to our community, you can find out more about us at mydigitalfarmer.com. If you're watching this on YouTube or on Vimeo for the first time, you can find this community of over 1,000 farmers now from around the world who are all learning how to get better at marketing. And if you want to see weekly videos like this inside that group and communicate with them, you can just go to mydigitalfarmer.com and click on the button to get into my free private Facebook group. Thanks a lot, guys. See ya. Bye.